God initiates his redemptive plan by calling on the patriarch Abram and establishing a covenant with him that would bless the nations through his descendants. It is passed on through his son Isaac, Isaac's son Jacob, and Jacob's 12 sons. God uses the patriarchs to exemplify their faith and righteousness in honoring their devotion to God as their father. God initiates his redemptive plan by calling his servant Abram. He instructs Abram to leave his home, family, and his people in an act of faith and loyalty to God. Abram took his wife, nephew, and belongings and headed north where God was leading him. After living in the land where God had called him for some time, God appears to Abram and renews his covenant with him, known as the Abrahamic covenant, in which God promises Abram that he would give him a son, become a blessed nation, and possess the land of the Canaanites. God seals this covenant by participating in a cultural practice called the blood path ceremony with Abram. This included Abram slaughtering many animals, cutting them in two, and placing them in rows in which their blood would form a path in the middle, in between the two parts of the animal, where both parties would walk, symbolizing that if they broke the covenant, they would end up as animals who had been slaughtered. However, God takes it upon himself to endure both parties' responsibilities in the covenant by causing Abram to fall asleep, and God, symbolized by a flaming torch and smoking clay pot, walked through the path by himself. God gave Abram instructions to circumcise his descendants as a reminder of his covenant with Abram. Circumcision served as a reminder of God's promise to Abram and signified that they were of God's chosen and blessed people. God's promise was fulfilled, and Sarah and Abraham had a son called Isaac. In a test of Abraham's faith, God commanded that Abraham travel to the land of Moriah and sacrifice Isaac. The next day, Abraham took Isaac and 2 servants and began his journey to the mountain God instructed him to go to. Upon reaching Mount Moriah, Abraham left his servants, telling them that they would return when they were finished worshiping. This is important because Abraham had faith that God would provide and wouldn't take his son from him. Abraham and Isaac headed up the mountain, where Abraham prepared an altar, found Isaac, and laid him upon the altar. As he was ready to slit Isaac's throat, in obedience to God's command, an angel of the Lord intervened, instructing Abraham not to kill Isaac and that God had seen his faithfulness. The angel reaffirms the promises given to Abraham by God. As Abraham looks up, he sees a ram that God has provided as a substitute sacrifice. Isaac and Rebekah are blessed with twin sons, Jacob and Esau. While pregnant with Jacob and Esau, the Lord told Rebekah that the older son would serve the younger. This is important to know because the blessing and covenant promises traditionally went to the elder son. At the age in which they were eligible to receive their father's blessing, Esau, the elder brother, giving in to his temporary pleasure, traded his birthright to his younger brother Jacob for a bowl of stew. At this age in life, their father Isaac was blind, and Jacob used the fur of an animal to deceive Isaac into believing that he was his brother Esau, and Isaac gave the blessing to Jacob. Upon discovering that Jacob had received their father's blessing, Esau became angry and vowed to kill his brother Jacob after their father died. Out of fear, Jacob left home and fled to his uncle's house in Haran, where he remained for 20 years before returning home. Because Jacob feared Esau's want for revenge, Jacob sent a series of offerings for Esau to precede his return home. On the night before Jacob was to meet Esau, he encountered a mysterious stranger who wrestled with him all throughout the night. In the midst of their struggle, Jacob's opponent supernaturally dislocated his hip with a simple touch. The stranger asked Jacob to release him, in which Jacob replied, saying no, he would not surrender until the stranger would bless him. The stranger then asked Jacob what his name was. Jacob replied. The stranger then changed his name from Jacob, meaning heel grabber, to Israel, meaning he who wrestles with God and prevails. Jacob then walked the rest of his days with a limp from where his hip had been injured. The next day, Jacob saw Esau coming and fell on his knees before him. Esau embraced him in love. Jacob had 12 sons with his wives Rachel and Leah. Amongst the 12, his favorite was Joseph. This made his brothers very angry and jealous of Joseph. Jacob gave Joseph a coat of many colors as a gift to show him his love. One day, Joseph went to check on his brothers. His brothers, seeing the coat, became viciously jealous and took him captive. After debating on whether or not they should kill him, they ultimately decided on taking his coat and selling him into slavery to the slave master Potiphar. Joseph's brothers decide to kill an animal and use its blood to deceive their father and tell him that they found Joseph and he had been killed. Joseph's slave master Potiphar had a wife who desired him. Joseph was faithful to his master and told his wife he would not be with her. This angered her to the point that she lied and accused Joseph of assaulting her. This resulted in Joseph going to jail. While in jail, Joseph became known for interpreting dreams. When the Pharaoh began having dreams that he could not understand, he called his guards to retrieve Joseph. And when Joseph interpreted the dream correctly, Pharaoh trusted him and appointed him to a place of power. Joseph's interpretation of Pharaoh's dream that there would be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine led Pharaoh to giving Joseph power over the storage of food. During the famine, Joseph's brothers come to Egypt to buy grain. Although Joseph recognizes them, his brothers do not know who Joseph is. Joseph accuses the 10 brothers of being spies. Upon learning that they have another younger brother, Benjamin, he requests that the brothers return with Benjamin while Joseph keeps one brother there. Upon telling their father, he does not allow Benjamin to go to Egypt so that the brothers can prove their honesty. Only once they needed more food was Benjamin allowed to journey with them to Egypt. Once the brothers return to Egypt, Joseph reveals his true identity. Joseph requests that the brothers return home and bring their families into the land of Egypt, where Joseph can share his wealth. The brothers did as requested.